Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. This time just an update to my Mikanko build from a while back. We're gonna do a whole new guide for all of the new support for Genesis probably once it releases in TCG, but it just came out in Master Duel and I've been playing it a whole lot here, so I did want to at least like cover a little bit of what the new stuff does. So, if you are looking for a guide for Mikanko and Master Duel, this is the best I've got on my channel. It's probably going to cover the basics pretty well. So with that all said, let's get started. So we got a few new cards, namely Sanaki is very important because this enables some one-card combos that the deck just didn't have previously. Mikanko's not really a one-card combo deck, but this gives us a good number of them actually. Thanks in large part to Mikanko Shinbu Noble Twins, which is actually a one-card combo. The idea is you can use this card, send Sanaki to grave, set Fire Dance, and that allows you to bring back Sanaki. What Sanaki does is when she gets an equip card equipped to her, like the Fire Dance resurrecting her from grave, you can special summon another Mikanko from your deck, so that can be either Hyuli or Hare here. I'm not playing the third, which I'll talk about in a moment. And then you can overlay those for the new Uzuhime, and Uzuhime is an OTK on either an empty board or if the opponent has just like a monster of really any size. Because what Uzuhime does is on special summon you can add any equipped spell from deck or grave to hand, which can be Double-Edged Sword, which is a staple in Mikanko in the first place, but now it's just super easily searchable. That's pretty cool, but that's not all Uzuhime does, because if Uzuhime attacks, it's a Mikanko, like it'll reflect damage at the opponent, doesn't get destroyed in battle, blah blah blah. But if it attacks, at the end of damage step, you can detach a material to attack again, and that's not even once per turn. So you can swing, detach, swing, detach, swing, and because as soon as you summon her, you search the double-edged sword, what that means is if you put double-edged sword on an opponent's monster, they're automatically dead. They're taking 12,000 damage even if it's a zero attack monster. But one cool thing that the deck can do now is you can put the double-edged sword on the Uzuhime because she reflects damage, so you can swing for 4,000, detach a material, swing for another 4,000. So you can actually OTK on an empty board in Mikanko now, which was always kind of a weird fiddly weakness of theirs, is that if the opponent didn't have monsters, you had trouble killing them. Not the case anymore. That is no longer a weakness. And if the opponent just passes on an empty board thinking, haha, I know it's Mikanko, I'm going to win, they're pretty screwed nowadays. So that definitely changes our ratios. The fact that Shinbu just does the combo for us and one-shots the opponent on an empty board, that means that we still played the 3 Ohime we did before because Ohime can search you Shinbu, and you're doing that instead of searching Ceremony now, which has made me think about playing Ceremony at more than one because you do still like to see it, but for now we're just rocking the one. And you play 3 Prep because 3 Prep gets you to Ohime, which gets you to Shinbu. So overall we have 9 copies of just Shinbu, and that's not including the 2 Triple Tactics Thrust. You might play 3, I don't have 3. You could probably run like 1 Talent and 3 Thrust, but honestly I don't like running 3 of Interaction that is hard once anyways. I tend towards 2 of those, as you can probably tell here. And that gives you another 2 to 3 copies of Shinbu, just because you're always going second. And that's the next thing I want to talk about, is that this is Master Duel. It's a best of 1 format, and the vast majority of people are going to make you go second if they win the die roll. And if you win the die roll, you choose to go second. That means that we don't have to have an edge case for going first in this deck. At least not in this particular format. Which is why I've taken out Nini, the blue Mikanko, because she is a going first card. I've taken out the traps because those are going first cards. You don't go first unless you're running into like another Mikanko player, and people are going to quit playing that pretty soon because there's not a whole lot of dedicated Mikanko players. People are just like, oh, I got this out of the new pack, I might as well give it a try. That's going to fall off pretty soon, and then no one's going to be making you go first. so we don't really need a plan for that. So we are instead loaded up on board breakers and going second tools, as you should. Obviously, we're playing the Max C. It's really good. It doesn't necessarily fit directly into our game plan, and oftentimes we don't need the extra cards, but we would be remiss not to play it. I'm not playing the rest of the Max C minigame in this deck, because, as aforementioned, we can kill the opponent on an empty board in 3 summons. That means if they don't draw, I don't even know what they would draw to out that, because Purge doesn't work. That's before they could nib us. They can Ash the Search on Uzuhime, which does stop us from killing them, I guess. But outside of that, we don't really care if the opponent activates Max C. We're killing them in so few summons that it doesn't matter to us. And I have played through Max C's plenty of times on here, and like them drawing into hand traps and things like that, and they just die anyways because that's how the deck works. So we are not playing the rest of the minigame, we're just playing the Max C, and in place of that, we got 3 Lava Golems. It's a staple. You tribute their monsters, you bounce it back with Arabesque, you tribute 2 more monsters, and they're very sad. Couple of kaijus, because you really want to see at least one of these guys in general. I would be playing 5 lava golems if I could, because we don't use our normal summon almost ever anyways. And fitting with that theme, 3 hidden armory. It's just a not once per turn search for any equip spell. It also has incidental synergy because it sends stuff to the grave, and we like having certain cards sent to the grave, like Shinbu's not bad in grave because you can detach a material from an Exes in case you fail to kill to just summon out Ohime from deck, which is kind of interesting. We like hitting Mayawashi Dori, we like hitting any of the names, so we don't mind that incidental synergy. And it stops us from normal summoning. We don't really care because we don't normal summon. Very importantly, Harpy's Feather Duster, 2 copies of Lightning Storm to go with our 2 copies of Thrust to search those. Very important in Master Duel because we kill monsters like nobody's business. Monsters just like cease to exist when walking into Mikanko, but we have a real rough time with back row. So having mass back row removal, and I have played Cosmic Cyclone in here as well. I'm not so sure because it's not like searchable. We've got 5 copies of mass back row removal. We should be okay without it. But like, that's how much I hate back row against Mikanko. It's just so good against us. So we need to also make sure we try and find a way to out anything they have. And then I'm playing 1 Ultimate Slayer because that's what I've made so far on this account, and I didn't feel like I really needed to go all in and build a bunch of them because, again, we're really good at taking out monsters anyways. The nice thing with Ultimate Slayer is it lets you send Herald of the Arclight to search your 1-card combo, and it also can, you know, send other things for value. Garura to draw, Malong is another breaker, Aggregator can help with face-up spell traps, things like that. So it's not a bad card. I'm just playing the 1 copy. We can search it off Thrust if it's ever super relevant. And that's about it for the Breaker Suite. Mikanko doesn't have a whole ton of room for non-engine, but especially since I cut those going first cards, we've got a good chunk. As for one-ofs, I think because we have Hidden Armory, we can play a robust suite of 1-of equip spells that can just do things when we need them to. I'm playing 1 Rondo. It's a steal. Normally you go to put Rondo on an opponent's monster and they have to answer it, even if you don't have the monster on field already, because they know that the second you put that monster on field, Rondo takes it. There's no effect there. You just get their monster. So even if you just use this as a bluff, it almost always gets out an interaction if they have one capable of hitting it. Double-Edged Sword, again, is for killing the opponent. That's our normal search off of Uzuhime, because if we've gotten to the point where we're summoning Uzuhime, we're probably just closing out the game, and this is how you do it. Axe of Fools, it's just an extra piece of interaction. It negates an opponent's monster's effect while also making it bigger so it's easier to kill them. It's pretty good. You can play multiples of these, but again, I like my ratios now. All of those guys are searchable, so we don't really necessarily need to play a bunch of them. So yeah, that's the current deck, and then the sideboard, the only thing you ever summon from the sideboard is Uzuhime now, because the one card combo, both Sanaki and Shinbu lock you into Mikanko monsters from extra deck because they didn't want you doing the stupid lava golem thing, which I never liked doing anyways. So they lock you out of anything else, so you're just using Uzuhime. You're never going to summon a Shuriken, but it's possible. That's why he's in here. Basically everything else is just an Ultimate Slayer target. I don't know how you're summoning Underworld Goddess, but if you manage, good on you. Garden is just a card I forgot to take out and replace with something with incidental synergy from when I was playing this with Dogmatica. Again, it doesn't matter. You could run this at like 7 cards in extra deck and you'll never miss the other 8. So that's going to be it for the deck update. Let's go watch some games. The thing about Mikanko games is that you either win in spectacular fashion, or you probably just lose, so these aren't gonna be the most interesting if we're being completely honest, but they should give you an idea of what the deck is trying to do. Let's go. So first up we are up against D. Obviously they are going first. The only times lately I've been forced to go second are against other Mikanko decks, or just like, I don't know, people that forgot to click a button, I guess, and it random to them. But that's kind of the neat thing with Master Duel and this deck, and going second decks in general. That's why I don't play any traps in this deck, even though that seems really greedy, but like, and it would be if you were playing a best of 3 format, which is, you know, an actual good format with back and forth Yu-Gi-Oh! But unfortunately, we don't really get much of that in Master Duel. We're just here to, like, I don't know, blow each other out of the waters based on whatever hand happens to be drawn. So yeah, they set up a real scary board, and unfortunately for them, this is a perfect Mikanko hand. So we get rid of their Spell Trap negate, then we Lightning Storm. They have no other negates, so there goes, well, everything. Still a little bit worried about this face down because I don't think we know what it is, but I start with Hidden Armory and they go ahead and ash that. That's okay because that was mostly bait for the Noble Twins. Noble Twins summons out Sanaki, and if they have nothing else, then this is just super ultra double lethal, so yeah, never do learn what that set card is, but they definitely die here. Boom. And that's what Mikanko does. Cool. Cool. As I mentioned, I think the opponent messed up making us go first here because they're not on a really good going second deck. That's okay, it's a good excuse to showcase what we can actually do going first, which really isn't much here. Again, I don't play the trap because it's a best of 1 format. We don't end up going first that often. We don't even have the tragic twin threads or whatever it's called in Master Duel yet, which is supposed to be the backup plan if you're going first in Mikanko, where you lock the opponent out of the extra deck. Wouldn't even matter here because this is like pure Primite, maybe Primite Odeon. I guess I should have looked at the deck list. But they summon a Labradorite, they don't go into Baron or anything, they set a bunch of stuff. Okay, well that's kind of scary. If they have an Apophis trap they can negate without targeting. But we go for Arabesque, they activate Drill Beam, not realizing the Drill Beam targets have to banish their own thing, and then they're going to scoop it up. Moral of the story is sometimes a deck just physically can't get over an untargetable Hewley. Cool, cool. And we're back with closing thoughts on our Mikanko update for the new Master Duel release. I mean, what did you expect? It's Mikanko. If we manage to defang the opponent's board, we almost always will just immediately win. It's a pretty binary deck, but in a way that I think is fun because it's not like Tenpai, place the field spell, the opponent can't react, and I just, like, go off. The opponent can do stuff to you as Mikanko. It's just, do they hit the right places compared to what cards you have in hand? So it is a very interactive deck, and a lot of people don't think of it as such because going second decks kind of have a bad rap thanks to things like Tenpai, and obviously Hewley making everything untargetable is rough, but untargetable is not the end of the world these days, especially these days. So I don't know. I don't think it earns the malign that it gets because it is an interactive and interesting and fun deck that like creates these interesting game states. People just don't like to see themselves die to an Uzuhime, basically like, oh, that's all you had to do and I died. I think that just leaves a bad taste in people's mouth. Like, oh, you didn't do this long convoluted combo, you just smacked me in the face twice. Cool. Which I personally think is funny, and it like ends the game quicker, so people don't have to sit there and like deal with the long convoluted combo. But I don't know, maybe that's not what everyone thinks about it. But anyways, the actual deck, the Shinbu is incredible. Like we extend like crazy because what used to happen in Mikanko is you had to resolve like an arabesque. You had to resolve a ceremony. You had to like make something work and kind of like piece together a board piecemeal. Whereas now we have a much more straightforward game plan, which is use those cards that we have to gain value from before. Just use those to break the board and then resolve Shinbu and we win. So the game plan is definitely a lot more straightforward than it used to be in that all of the rest of our cards, which we used to have to use multiples to put multiple bodies on board and then swing and just hope we have enough damage. Yeah, we don't care anymore. It's just we're always going to have enough damage. We just have to break your board. And that makes the deck a lot more lethal. It makes it a lot more consistent. That's like the big winner here is we are now much more consistent at actually doing our job instead of just hoping we open the right pieces to get there. But anyways, that's going to do it for this one. Look forward to the actual like full deck guide for the TCG coming up in probably the next couple of months because I'm absolutely going to be playing that. So I hope you liked it, guys, and I hope see you next time. Bye-bye.